Hi everyone, so I'm going to start doing a series of videos that compare two different drugstore beauty products, and my rules for this is that they've got to have the same purpose, or they've got to be designed for the same purpose. It's not necessarily a dupes video, it's an which one do I buy kind of, and they've got to be kind of in the same price bracket, but one of them might be slightly higher, one of them slightly lower, or about the same price, but it just depends. But the most important thing is that they're both designed for the same purpose, because sometimes on dupes videos when people will pick something else that's designed for something else, or particularly with skin and body products, they'll say that something's a dupe for something else because they smell similar, but then the more expensive one might have extra ingredients that do something else as well, and that's not the purpose of this. The purpose is to pick something, basically two things that are very similar, designed for the same job, and compare how well they do that job. So this time I'm going to do these kind of summer body lotions. These are the ones with the gradual tan that builds up over time. I've been using this one for most of the summer, and as you can probably see with the light, there's not an awful lot left in this one. And then I've just got this one. I've done a full go of putting it on, and then it's kind of pretty much worn off now. But I'm going to do over the next, it's going to be split up into 3 videos for this one. I'm going to put both of them on now. That one's going to go on my right arm, that one's going to go on my left. I'm going to do a little video tomorrow to show you the colour, and then I'll do another video with the second coat. So yeah, I'm going to put them on now. So the Garnier one, they both have an apricot-y smell, but the Garnier one is certainly a lot stronger, whereas the Dove one kind of smells like apricot mixed with Dove scent. I'm sure everybody knows what Dove products smell like, because most of their products smell the same. Okay, that's about more than enough to do this arm. Let me just rub it in. And I would say when you're rubbing in these, you want to make sure they're really well rubbed in, but don't do the places like your knuckles or your elbows until you're pretty much done, and then just the tiny little bit that's left on your hands. Just like do that. That's all it needs. Just make sure you get in the crevices, otherwise you'll end up with white crevices. And then, same with your elbow. Any dry patches, and this includes your knees, around your toes, on your feet and your ankles. Either you can do the barrier cream method, which I did try to start with, where you put a really, really thick cream on all your dry patches and then just layer it on top like everything else. But I found it still clings to the dry patches. I think the best thing to do is just try and avoid them as best you can. And just do a really, really thin layer over the dry places, like you would if you're doing like a proper fake tan with the mitt and everything. Because these are like a body lotion, you don't actually need a mitt. You just need to go and wash your hands afterwards. And I tend to try and soak just the inside of my palms, and then just kind of do this bit and try not to do the back of my hands. Because you don't want to end up with white hands and then brown arms. The Dove one, you'll probably notice, is a lot thicker in texture than the Garnier one. It's also got a slightly pinky tone. I seem to think with the Dove one you actually need slightly less of it. Sorry, that's really boring. Just looking at my table. Okay, so there we are. When they're both on, it just looks like moisturiser. It just feels like moisturiser. They're both quite nice. They're both quite moisturising. I definitely noticed that when I was using this quite regularly, my skin was a lot better and a lot more moisturised from using these regularly. And I would say one thing you definitely need to watch out for, though, is that I wouldn't advise putting these on before you go to bed. I did, particularly with this one, when I first got it the first couple of weeks, or the first week or so, I put it on every night or every other night before I went to bed, and after doing that for a week I noticed that my bed sheets had a really quite distinct Brit Stitch shaped brown patch on it, where it rubbed off, where it hadn't completely soaked in, and then I was rubbing it off onto the sheets on the night. If you put it on in the morning or during the day, as long as it's more than like 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed, I think it soaks in fine, and then it doesn't transfer onto other things. In terms of you transferring it onto your clothes, because it's only going to be a short bit, I think it's because you obviously sleep in your bed sheets for several nights. It was kind of the accumulation of the tan. As long as you haven't something, I would say, darker than kind of like a nude tone or a medium tone, you're not going to notice it if it does transfer a tiny bit, and it does come out in the wash. But I wouldn't put it on before you go to bed because you will stain your sheets like fake tan, unfortunately. So there we are. I will come back tomorrow and you can see how brown I've got, and I can show you the difference a little bit. Hi everyone, so this is the second video about these Gradual Tanner moisturisers. I just had a look back and I realised I'd forgotten to tell you how much they were. Both of these have a recommended retail price of £5, but I got this one in Home Bargains for about £2 or £2.50, something like that, and I got the Dove one for about £3. And I've seen both of these on offer loads during the summer, so I wouldn't expect to pay £5 for either of them if you were looking to get them at the moment. And I think they're both on offer at Boots and Superdrug at the minute. And what else was I going to say? Oh yes, about the longevity of them. With both of these, I've had the same issue, is that they last really well. You can shower with them and it'll still stay on. It'll lighten like a tiny bit, not as much as having putting it on another layer. It'll lighten a tiny bit every time you have a shower or a bath. But it does last quite well even through showering. What it really doesn't last well through is when you shave your legs, unfortunately. I don't know what it is about my legs. My legs seem to stay the lightest after I put this on compared to any other part of my body. And then also, every time you shave your legs, you just seem to take the tan off, or you take the majority of it off, and then it kind of ends up a little bit patchy around your feet, which obviously don't shave, so they stay dark, and then your legs, which look a lot lighter. So what I tend to do is put extra coats on my leg, just the bit part where I shave, to try and even it out. So on the kind of edges there and around your knee, I find my knees seem to keep soaking up the colour, and that's happened with both of these quite a lot. And that you need to exfoliate your knees probably every time you go in the shower, just to try and lighten the colour up a bit, and same with maybe the odd place on your foot. I think the issue is just my legs are a lot drier than the rest of me, and like my arms and my torso normally look really good, and I haven't found any streaking with either of them. Okay, so this is the Garnier one. I don't know how well you can see the colour. See, it's all nice and even. There's no lines or streaking. I think it has a slightly yellower toned tan to the Dove one, but it still looks very natural. I've worn this quite a bit, and everyone who I've told I've been wearing it, they said they wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't told them. And then this is the Dove one, which I don't know whether you can notice. I think it's a tiny bit darker, and also I think the tan is slightly more olive toned to the Garnier one. Let's see if I can get them both in shot. I think the main place you can difference is like this part of my hand looks very brown on this hand compared to that one. I don't know how well you can see on the camera. Hopefully in the next video, when I've got two coats on each one, you'll be able to see a more marked difference, and this one will look darker than the other one. But I hope you can see it. It does look nice and natural. There's no lines between my arm and my palm. There's no lines between my hand and my fingers, even though I wash my hands and like the tops of my fingers afterwards. And when I do it also, I just kind of blend it up into my neck, and I haven't had any issues with getting a line under my jaw where I've stopped. The main thing you need to do is you want to focus the majority of the liquid in the kind of centre parts of your limbs, and then kind of blend it out to the edges. So like on my legs, I kind of blend it up to the top of my thighs, and same with my chest down. I don't really bother doing it the parts which aren't going to be on show. So yep, that's it for today. I'm going to come back and do another one tomorrow, and you'll be able to see the full comparison with two coats of each. I'm going to go and reapply both of these now. Hi everyone, so this is the last video in this series. So I've applied both of these 2 times now, this one on this arm and this one on my right arm. So this is my left arm. As you can see, it's really even, no patchiness, not even like round here where the skin's a little bit drier. And that's my right arm. I said about the Dove one being a little bit darker, but now I've actually got them on both side by side. I would say it is a little bit darker, but it's very, very minimal. If I hadn't told you, or if I hadn't been comparing it myself, I probably wouldn't have noticed any difference in colour. So I think actually they're pretty comparable. Okay, so which one do I prefer? I think that the Dove one absorbs in slightly better, and that the Garnier one stays slightly stickier for a little while longer. I think they stain dry patches equally, but it's not too bad, and certainly not as bad as fake tan. And it can be corrected by trying not to put too much on that area, or by using a bit of exfoliator on that area to try and get it off a bit more. So really, I think they're pretty equal. I think they both smell okay. They both kind of transfer equally. I would say they're pretty much neck and neck. This might sound a bit boring, but so really, if you were looking to get one of these, I would say just go on price. Really, they both have the same recommended retail price, but Garnier, when it's on offer, does tend to be cheaper than the Dove one. I think the Dove one feels a little bit nicer on the skin, but there really isn't very much in it at all. So really, it's just down to you. If you like this, I'm going to do some more of these sort of comparison videos, so just let me know. Thank you very much.